Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the third day of July in the year of our Lord 2026. Tomorrow is the 4th of July when traditionally we celebrate the independence of our country from England. To those who say they won't celebrate because they are not getting everything they want from America, I say, perhaps you don't understand what the ideals of America really are supposed to be. Or perhaps you don't celebrate because this is not really your country. That's more than just a snarky love it or leave it comment, folks, because I've traveled the world. I've even lived abroad. And when you do that, you might like the country you're in, but you don't love it. It's not yours. To love a country, it has to be in your blood, in your DNA. Terra firma, firm ground, or the land under your feet is yours to live on and to defend with your life if necessary. It used to be that almost everyone felt that way. So what happened? What happened to us? Many things happened, but mass immigration from the third world has had a profound effect on our culture and our politics. Now we elect members of Congress who aren't even American. Many other things happened, of course, but paramount among them was that our attitude and the attitudes of our politicians changed profoundly. For one thing, the new media allowed us to finally get a glimpse at what the global ruling elite really are. Let's just start from World War II, go forward from there with a few notable exceptions. Prior to that war, America minded its own business. But for the most part, one of those exceptions was Woodrow Wilson deciding to spend thousands of American lives to rescue Britain and France from Germany and Kaiser Wilhelm. That was World War I. Staying out of European wars is a pretty good practice. It always has been, but we seem to struggle with that from time to time. When World War II ended, Nazi Germany was defeated, Japan was defeated, the lesser Axis powers were gone. America had about 10 million men in uniform under arms. To some extent, we demobilized. And most of those men were sent home to their factories and their farms, but something else happened as well. We did not completely demobilize. Instead, we decided we could garrison the entire world. The idea was that in the event of a Soviet attack in Europe, American troops could not be reinforced by ship due to Soviet submarines, so the strategy was to forward garrison them in Europe. Now that can't be done anymore because of missiles and drones, so it was never a viable concept. And leaving would be the most obvious strategy. We kept bases and troops just about everywhere, including occupying the countries we had just defeated. People still loved us because, after all, we just saved civilization from a return to the Dark Ages. Even with troops everywhere, for the most part, we still left other people alone to decide their own leadership, their own fate. Korea and Vietnam were two places we intervened to prevent our great enemy, the Soviet Union, from expanding its politics into other countries against their will. We were at least able to convince ourselves that that was the reason for the intervention. By the end of the Vietnam War, a new generation was coming on the scene. That one had not fought, did not even seem to care or to remember World War II. The bodies piled up. They filled the cemeteries. The American people finally started to listen to the new generation, and the war became very unpopular. When we finally just left, we just packed up and left after all those dead. The communists did prevail as we thought they would, but now, 50 years later, Vietnam is one of the capitalist, quote, miracles of Southeast Asia. In the meantime, we still had our great enemy, the Soviet Union, to occupy our time and our resources and keep our war production factories running at full speed. The philosophy that we lived with since World War II have been containment. Just don't let them expand, but don't try to defeat them either. Well, Ronald Reagan came along and said he had a different philosophy. It was, quote, we win, they lose. He and Gorbachev negotiated an end to the Soviet Union, which was collapsing under the economic weight of Cold War competition with the United States and of maintaining 16 totally dependent colonies which could produce nothing and contribute nothing. The end of the Soviet Union was probably the greatest opportunity for world peace in modern history, but we failed miserably. The world is still suffering from that failure. Instead of living up to the deal we made with Gorbachev, we agreed to advance NATO to the very border of Russia. The purpose of NATO was to defend Europe from the Soviet Union, which didn't even exist anymore, so it made no sense, and NATO made no sense any longer. A great new enemy was needed, quickly found when the Soviet Union was dissolved into the Russian Federation. We had Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait, and the new enemy of radical Islam was found. Along with that, a few very bright, very sinister American neocons drafted the project for a new American century, and their ambition has been followed since then. Invade and conquer. That was the idea. Invade and conquer the countries around the Middle East. Make this an American century. That's what the doctrine said. Other countries, such as Russia and China, had their own ideas, of course, about this unipolar American world. There has been conflict since then. The attitude of America and that of mind your own business, let others do the same, changed into something else. We are the sole superpower, it said. We run the world. We claim the right to intervene anytime, anywhere we choose in the world. We don't care what you think about it. If we don't like the people who lead your country and your leaders are misbehaving, we will invade and change your leaders if you do not comply. The attitude has kept us constantly at war. It's changed the way the world sees us. The situation has been made much worse because it has become obvious that for whatever reason, America has become nothing more than the military arm of Greater Israel. Much of the world sees that. They see that Israel would not exist and would not do what it does without us. So the world hates us, along with Israel. Yes, the world and much of the United States now literally hates Israel. Before the attacks on Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, support for Israel was one of the most reliable things in politics. But now, in just a few short years, it's all changed. The fact that we are fighting wars for nothing but the policy of Greater Israel is becoming so obvious, no one can ignore it except those who are bought and paid for. That the Israeli lobby is using our own money to buy our leaders is very distressing. Most see that. Even the dependable white liberal Northern Jewish alliance has been broken. Couple all that with the results of the war being humiliation for the U.S., people are very dissatisfied. Recent polls reveal that the Iran war is more unpopular than Vietnam in its final stages. The war is saying something about us that's hard to take, and that is that our leadership, from Congress to the Senate and the presidency, are bought and paid for, possibly blackmailed or even worse. So we, the people, are supposed to send our sons and now even our daughters to die for that? Well, no thanks, folks, no thanks. That's what the people seem to be saying. Well, this is quite enough about what's wrong with us right now. So let's look at some good news, some good things about us. The good news is that Washington is not America because it has become something almost foreign. We are America, and when the world meets us and sees that, the world recognizes it. The World Cup of Soccer, a very good example of that happening. It has been very uplifting to watch huge stadiums filled with foreign fans shouting USA, USA, along with the Americans. Stadiums full of people from around the world singing American folk songs. I saw a video of one German woman who said, quote, "If you want to hate America, watch the news. But if you want to love it, drive its roads, meet its people," end quote. The outpouring of affection most of the fans have expressed for this country has been heartwarming in the extreme. Even back in the Vietnam days, more than 50 years ago, I found that most people liked Americans when they met them, but they did not like the American government. For the first time, In recent memory, people are at least beginning to see that this is not just a Democrat-Republican issue, but one that affects the entire country the same. In other words, I have been right all along. They're all in it together. Their differences and name-calling are just theater for us, unfortunately, something we watch, but many have stopped believing. I'm not talking about the people who have been conditioned through propaganda to hate each other so leaders can loot them at their leisure. The leaders are all in it together. That's what I mean, folks. They're in it together. And if one is not in it, he or she is quickly gone. In conclusion, folks, is there a way back? Yes, I think there is. It starts with disengagement from not just Israel, but from the entire Middle East. I noticed that Bibi recently returned to Washington for the 7th time during the Trump presidency. Tell Bibi, we're leaving. We're disengaging from the Middle East. You're on your own, Bibi. We will sacrifice no more lives for the desires of a foreign leader. Finally, folks, happy 4th of July. Celebrate with fireworks and hot dogs or however you want. Honor America as it should be and as it could be again if the people just wanted it badly enough. At least that's the way I see it, folks. Until next time, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.